I started bringing weed from Canada back in '92.
The
That was kind of
Beasters.
like the start of it. The Beasters, yep, the Juicy Fruits, the Skunk number ones, and into the Kushes. Um, we were, I'm not gonna say we're the first. Everybody says they're the first, but um, I feel like we're in the forefront of that movement, at least bringing it into California and then distributing it, throughout the country. Um, and that's how I got started. And I went to prison for 8 years for it. I got caught up in a conspiracy from Vancouver to Seattle. Um, and that's kind of like how I got started. And then, as it became more accepted and became more, I should say legalized
Mhm.
around the country, the prices have just come down so much. And I just figured it's either I'm going to get out of this industry completely or I'm going to figure out a new way to make money within the industry. And I feel providing the services are more lucrative than actually providing the flower, whether it's infusion, terpenes, you know, these hydroponic stores, lights. I think these are the guys making the money. The
That's
guys.
absolutely true. Hmm. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I went from making $3,000 a pound, $4,000 a pound in the '90s to $25 a pound, and it's just too much work, and it just wasn't worth it for me. So I was either going to leave or figure it out. And this is kind of like where I evolved and fell. This kind of fell into my lap. I saw it coming a year and a half ago, and everybody said I was crazy. And now, you know, it blew up in New York, and now it's spreading, throughout the East Coast. I feel like it hasn't got to the West Coast yet, but I feel at some point it's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I honestly, I'm. That's gonna be a really good. I mean, I think it's for sure. I mean, it's spreading, dude, and it's definitely it's become. I think the very first like modern like there's like a new skew of like cannabis flower,
It
right?
is.
Which we haven't really had like a new skew, quote unquote. I mean, it's hard to really like, but it really is. It's a whole other category, I would say. Like at this point, that but this is the first like one in like the modern legal era, I would say, that's come about. But I want to
What's
go back
really
real.
interesting about
Yeah,
it is,
you
you
go.
know, all these growers and, the so called legacy guys are all so against it. But at the end of the day, the more people we get into the industry, the more people we get smoking, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah,
And I don't understand why they can't wrap their head around that concept. I mean, this is bringing people into the industry that just don't even smoke weed. This is bringing people into the industry that smoke like flavored hookah, and the people that don't
really.
like
So you're
flavors.
thinking this really? So that's an interesting. I haven't really heard that really because I think to a certain degree, yeah, yeah, I kind of have heard that, but more so with like younger kids or not younger kids, just youth, right? Um, but you're saying that folks that were not into weed originally are now coming to the fray because people like flavor hookah, maybe the flavored vapes or whatever, like like yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes,
Interesting.
the this new skew, as you claimed, or as you stated earlier, is really expanding the marketplace. We're bringing brand new people into the marketplace that would have never been in the marketplace to begin with. So it's good for everybody. I mean, these guys can complain all they want, saying it's unhealthy. I mean, smoking in general is not healthy. Like
That's true.
smoking flavored vapes, I'm sure
Not
isn't
healthy.
healthy.
Yeah.
Um, but why they attack this specific segment, and they make these claims that you're ruining the culture. Like, what's the culture? Like, it's
Yeah,
a
I hate
business.
when people
Like,
do this
it's
too.
selling alcohol. Like, is that a culture? Like, when they just came out with all these new like seltzers a couple years back, is that like ruining the alcohol culture? I'm not sure. But as you see things evolve, and not even in cannabis, but in general, is flavors are dominating every segment of food, liquor, cigarettes, vapes, cannabis now. Like cannabis was late to the game if you think about it.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting point. I think really like culture, to go back to the culture aspect, I do kind of hate when people like throw, oh, you like it's that's the, but like there is a culture around cannabis. That can't be denied because culture gets developed, in my opinion, around right a group of people, and especially when things are illegal, right? A group of people that come together to, around some sort of, person, substance thing or whatever it may be. And then like and I think a lot of culture, quote unquote, what people are saying, it's developed, it's been derived from the illicit market, right? But now that's been merging with the legal market. We'll see. But I know what you mean though. I definitely think that like to say that this is ruined, like it's ruined the. I mean, there's plenty of other things that quote unquote have ruined that. There's that you could attack before, even before this. I think too. It's like the folks that are against it. The more I've studied this whole, because I've been like really like studying this whole issue, this whole subject for the last like pretty much the last month or so, and the more I've just come to the realization, I think it's important for people to understand and be educated about the potential consequences. After that, we live in a free country. McDonald's gives you cancer, right? Cigarettes get, McDonald's, you eat a bunch of, gets you fat. Smoking, cigarettes or vapes, that get, we know that, right? I think it's just important to like, that's the one aspect to this right now that's a little bit of a problem is that I don't think people are like potentially as educated, maybe. And I don't think even the people like you and me, like me, we don't really fully know the long-term implications.
Well, I can tell you the one thing I can tell you is if you are going to smoke flavored cannabis,
Yeah.
you should be buying stuff that's actually infused through this machine, through these infusion machines, because what it does is if you see in my videos when I break down the machine and clean it, like you see all the hydrocarbons and all the oils and the fats and the lipids that get burned out before in the vaporizer before it's actually injected into the chamber. Now, these guys that are taking just spray bottles and paint sprayers and spraying the flower, none of all those toxins that this machine eradicates and burns up through temperature doesn't happen in a spray process. So infusion and spraying is two different things. Like everybody gets it confused and gets it mixed up. Like in your vape, the element burns out a lot of the toxicity that's in these solvents that are in these terpenes, right? And that's why they heat it up. They have to heat it up actually, to get a temperature to vaporize it. But in that process, it also eradicates a lot of the solvents in the things that are bad for you. Again, smoking is bad for you, period. But if you're going to do it, you should do it in the best way that's possible through the technology that we have.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, we definitely need to be clear. There's a distinction between somebody taking a bucket, throwing some weed in a bucket, spraying some shit over it and then letting it sit for a minute, then spraying another round. That's a very different thing from then, putting in a machine that's worth, not to say like this necessarily equates to be like, hell, but it does. But, a machine that's there's like what, 300K or something, 100, a lot of money, right?
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah. And, it's interesting too. Like, I haven't seen any of those videos that you're talking about, all of the lipids and the fats and all the hydrocarbons, because hydrocarbons really, and I'm not no expert, but those are things that don't get broken down in your lungs or something, right? That they stay there. They stay there, right?
If you go on my IG page, I have videos on there where I'm breaking down
Okay.
the vaporizers and cleaning them where it traps all the stuff that you don't want.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting though, like, the whole idea of like, I'm doing like, a little bit of research before this. I'm like I said, literally no expert on this whatsoever, but I know a little bit. Like what I've been told, I mean, what I've seen and what I gather, I guess, is the whole idea though of people, extracting terpenes, whether it's through THCA, like whatever, whether it comes, I think originally people started just extracting THCA and terpenes were with that, I believe, or
Yeah,
something like that.
exactly.
Reapplying it though it's you can extract it, but then reapplying it doesn't make it the same. Like I think that they're
Well,
within that process. It's sorry, go ahead.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you take a minute to go to the Abstract website, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Abstract Labs, but check out Abstract Labs. They've broken down and they're certified. Every one of their terpenes is certified through burn tests and carcinogenic tests through burns. And not all terpene companies do that. I try to stick with the ones that do it, and those are my go-to guys. And if you look on the website, the certifications that they have for their terpenes are really, really in depth and deep. They've been studied, through internal scientists, through external scientists, through all these review processes. And, there's a lot of companies that don't do that. And I stick with the ones that do. Like, I'm not trying to create a business to kill people or to give people cancer. I'm trying to create a business that's as safe as possible in every realm of what we do. And again, being involved with any business where you create a smoking habit isn't healthy. We
Yeah.
all got to get to that. But if you're going to do it, we should all do it, the best we can and
Yeah,
be
I
as safe as
agree.
we can.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's good. I think
It's
that's
our job to, and our responsibility to give people the best product they can with the best technology that's available with the best product.
yeah, I would agree. I 100% agree. And you're right. I mean, it's not in your business interest long term whatsoever to be, hurting people or what like in terms of like I don't know, this is something you can maybe speak to, but like it's interesting, people when I talk to people and what I've kind of thought about it, it's like 20 years from now, there's like, just think about like a scene, right? It's like somebody's watching TV, they see a commercial, it's 20 years later, and let's say maybe they, they see like, like the mesothelioma, like, you might be entitled, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, did you smoke these terpenes at this time at this place? You might be entitled to, some money, even though if you got cancer from it or something like that.
It's an interesting conversation. Like, who does that fall back on? Does it fall back on the terpene company who manufactured the terpenes?
Yeah.
Does it come back to the cannabis company that grew it? Does it come back to the person that applied it? It's interesting how that will play out.